Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. And Clay, you know, we're at the bottom end of a polar vortex that once again is sweeping across the Midwest, headed toward the East Coast. With that in mind, things do seem to be frozen in time here is undefeated Ohio State, the number one team in the college football playoff rankings, gets ready to do battle with number 2 Indiana, undefeated in the college in the college football rankings. I got that all backwards, but everybody knows where I'm going there.
Yeah,
they're facing off Saturday night, 8 p.m. Lucas Oil Stadium, indoors. Thank goodness, in this polar vortex for the Big Ten championship. The most unlikely, if you looked at this 2 years ago, not this year, but from 2 years ago, the most unlikely pairing for a Big Ten championship because it has Indiana in it.
Well,
but if you just look at it from a year ago, not surprised at all.
It's the blue blood against the upstart. It is going to be epic, and it is historic because 1 versus 2 has never met in the Big Ten championship game, much less 2 undefeated teams. And there are, in my research, a couple of places where IU has the edge, and we'll examine that as we tackle this.
As we dissect this frog, we'll examine that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, of course, we all remember back in 2006, that was for the Big Ten, but it was like a regular season game. Ohio State hosted Michigan in a battle of 1 versus 2. Bo Schembechler died the day before, the legendary Michigan coach. I mean, could it get any bigger? It did, with Bo Schembechler up there sitting next to Woody in football heaven, watching their 2 beloved teams, which used to slug it out like 10 to 10 and whatever, get decided 42-39 in Ohio Stadium. But the bottom line is that was 1 versus 2, and it was for the Big Ten championship, and Ohio State prevailed, went on to play for the national championship against Florida and got upset in the Fiesta Bowl. Actually got bushwhacked in the Fiesta Bowl, whatever it was, 42-14, whatever the final score was. It was lopsided, maybe 41-14. But this game, boy, I think the spread right now, as we talk about it, this is on Friday, late Friday morning before the game. I think the spread's like 2.5 or 3 points, depending on where you look. It should be about a 50-50 crowd, maybe more than that for Indiana in Lucas Oil, because you know they've now got that good old time religion, which is football. You know, Indiana is a well-known, all the way back into the day, blue blood in basketball.
Yeah,
but
they haven't won the Big Ten since '67.
They're in rarefied air when it comes to football for Indiana. Of course, Ohio State is back where it used to hang out all the time. The Big Ten championship game through 2020, the COVID, and Ohio State hadn't been back since the COVID year. Hasn't won a Big Ten championship since the COVID year of 2020. These football players, Ohio State football players, definitely, they've got their gold pants in hand now, or they will be getting them, but I'm talking about figuratively. Their next goal is to get a Big Ten championship, something the national championship team of 2024 did not achieve. Even though it won the national championship, it did not beat Michigan, and it did not play for the Big Ten championship. The remnants from that team, the leftovers, they want all 3. They want the triad, the holy triad, if I can be blasphemous for a little bit. The holy triad of Ohio State football would be gold pants, Big Ten championship, national championship, and to repeat as national champions, something Ohio State has never done in football.
Let me tell you, it's best against best. Ohio State giving up 7.7 points a game. Indiana scoring 44.3. You got Mendoza with 32 touchdowns, best in the country. Ohio State allows a paltry 121 yards a game. That also best in the nation. And the little game inside the game, the chess match there is
kind of like when we get together for this podcast.
It's Mendoza trying to move Caleb Downs, get that
off
safety
his spot.
Yeah, get that safety a little bit confused, and we'll see if he can do that, because that's best against best almost.
Yeah. And, of course, the flip side of it is Caleb Downs trying to make Mendoza think, what? What? What?
Yeah, exactly.
Hesitate.
Yeah.
And, of course, Ohio State will, once again, the word cage will be in vogue for the defensive front, much like it was last week. And we'll see if, against Bryce Underwood, we'll see if they can cage Fernando Mendoza, who I would put on a scrambling scale, or a running ability scale, close to like a couple of guys Ohio State's already played this year, except he picks his spots. And boy, when you pick your spots, all you got is green in front of you.
Right.
You can go places. We saw Julian Sayin, obviously last week, pick up a huge first down on a third down by scrambling. He also has proven his ability in that regard. So, yeah, Kurt Cignetti, just Google him. As Ryan Day said, that's true. Google him, man. He's damn good. He's won at James Madison big, and boom, without skipping a beat. Man, I'm messing up my metaphors so bad today, but skipping a step.
Yeah.
He stepped into the Big Ten last year. Wait, who's this guy? Who's this upstart from FCS?
Yeah.
Boy, did he bring his staff with him. Did he bring a bunch of players who were playing at the FCS level? But anybody can see right now how good James Madison's program is, the one he basically built into a powerhouse on the FCS level, and just never skipped a step, and has lost 2 games as the head coach at Indiana. As I've repeated many times, I'll repeat one more time. Those 2 games were last year to Ohio State in the regular season, 11th game of the year, and into Notre Dame in the first round of the college football playoffs. Yes, Indiana's only 2 losses under Kurt Cignetti were two teams that played for the national championship last year. That's crazy.
It is. And Tim, he built it so well at JMU. The guy that followed him just got the UCLA gig.
Yep.
Chesney, I believe is his name.
Yep.
Bob Chesney. And Billy Napier has now gone in to replace him to keep the ball rolling.
You never know. You never know what the next level is going to do to a guy, because Billy Napier was damn good at Louisiana.
Yeah.
Lafayette is what it used to be called, University of Louisiana now, and goes to Florida and didn't get it done to the satisfaction. Well, he didn't get it done to the satisfaction of anybody.
He got canned.
But now all of a sudden he's going to be on the FCS level. Louisiana Lafayette was on the FBS level, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the cards they follow. We saw Brian Hartline get named to be the South Florida coach on Wednesday of this week, replacing Mr. Golish, guy from right up here in Olentangy, who's now went from USF, South Florida, to now the head coach of Auburn. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, exactly.
But, of course, the hiring by South Florida of Brian Hartline, Ohio State's offensive coordinator, who's going to see out his tour with Ohio State, despite having to have about 3 or 4 candles burning. It's like a at least a double-ended candle burning at both ends. He's going to see out Ohio State through the playoffs. But, of course, we know what kind of mini chaos that caused on signing day, because Chris Henry, the best wide receiver, maybe the best player in the class of 2026 in recruiting nationally, stepped away from his commitment to Ohio State. Let's say this. He pressed pause on his commitment to Ohio State on Wednesday. Looks like
still waiting.
During the midst of this show, he's supposed to announce live on the Pat McAfee show what his intentions are, which is interesting, because Pat McAfee and them were the ones who took the bait and repeated a report in the middle of signing day that in fact he was sticking to his commitment to Ohio State. Chris Henry was. So at least you always got to double check your sources on these things, ladies and gentlemen, because finally Chris Henry had to put out a tweet that said, "No, I've not signed with anyone. I'm paraphrasing. He's reweighing his options based on the fact, the news out of Ohio State, that the wide receiver coach extraordinaire, Brian Hartline, was moving on to South Florida. So we'll see how that goes, and we will interrupt this program for special breaking news in the midst of it.
And he has so many suitors now, including SC, Oregon, LSU. And some say even South Florida. Now, I don't know about that.
Hey, if Brett Harline means that much to you, well, I guess we're going to find out.
Right. But you're right. He kind of blew it up on signing day, and now it we'll see.
A lot of people are believing it's Oregon or Ohio State at this point, but you know what? It's a moot point. We're going to know here in about 15 or 20 minutes, and we will let you know because we want to keep you in the know. But I don't like how I said that, but hey, I already said it, so that's the way it goes. Let's get to the game at hand, the game that matters right now. That's Ohio State versus Indiana, a battle of unbeatens with the Heisman Trophy on the line between Fernando Mendoza, Indiana's quarterback, and Julian Sayin, Ohio State's quarterback. I mean, I know there's been an upswell of Diego Pavia backing because that's led pretty much by ESPN. And I'll get to that a little bit with Joshua Perry. I've got Joshua Perry on for a little interview in the midst of this show. But
I love you.
So we'll see if Diego Pavia figures into it. I believe Ty Simpson's star is come and gone in terms with Alabama. Jeremiah Love, right there, the running back for Notre Dame, had a tremendous finish to his regular season. But, of course, they're not playing on decision Saturday or championship Saturday.
Yeah. I love when you say
Fernando. Don't cry for me, Fernando. Tremendous player, by the way. I'm not discounting him. But let's get to a little bit about Julian Sayin. I had to get my wife to send me my lineup here because I always leave it at home, and she'll send me a picture of what I wrote down about what my videos are going to play. But
she's very attentive to your needs.
Yeah, but let's get some sound here from Julian Sayin from the middle of this week, just about going against Indiana. What he sees in Indiana, as you well know, Julian Sayin doesn't say a lot. I mean, nice, very nice young man, and polite, etc. But he doesn't. We're not talking about Will Howard here.
No, he's succinct.
Will Howard and even Fernando Mendoza, you ask him, how's the weather? Next thing you know, he's telling you how meteorology works, et cetera. I mean, wow, quite an extemporaneous speaker, as Ryan Day pointed out in his press conference, one of his press conferences this week. But let's get to Julian Sayin.
I think as soon as we came in on Sunday, everyone had that look in their eye because, we haven't won the Big Ten since 2020. So we know what's at stake here, and, we're excited about the opportunity to go play in Indianapolis. And we know what's at stake.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they moved on quickly from beating Michigan for the first time. Agreed?
Yeah, I think that was my principal question this week. Have they turned the page, given how long it had been since they had beaten that team and the euphoria, that kind of thing? When you beat your rival, as you know, as a fan or a reporter, the impact of that can be monstrous.
Yes.
So, So that's why Ryan Day was quickly, hey, that's done. Let's go.
Yeah, now let's hear what Julian had to say about Indiana. It's pretty much straight up, but it's good to hear from the starting quarterback.
No doubt.
Really well coached. They're really sound in their fundamentals and have great technique, and they play really hard. So it's going to be a tough challenge for us. They're really good at creating turnovers and then capitalizing off those turnovers. So we're going to have to play clean football.
Absolutely. Going to have to play some clean football, brother.
Let me tell you something, brother. Indiana leads the country in turnover margin, plus 17.
That's no fluke.
Ohio State is plus 5. So they are ball hawks.
That is no fluke. Julian Sayin's only thrown 5 interceptions all year. He threw one last week. It was to set the stage for Ohio State to come from behind win at Michigan.
But just 5 in 12 games. That's not bad.
Yep, exactly. I agree with you 100%. Saturday night in Indianapolis, a lot of people think the Big Ten championship's on the line, but also a lot of people think the Heisman Trophy's on the line. Let's just see what Julian has to say about that. Kind of know what he says, but let's just in his own words.
One versus two could be the Heisman Trophy up for grabs between you and Mendoza, et cetera. You're so laid back. On the inside, how revved up do you get? Can you explain you being revved up, what that feels like, looks like?
Yeah, we talk about being even-keeled, but definitely excited for the matchup. I've talked to some coaches in our building and, ones who have coached in this game and, been there and talk about the atmosphere being electric and, how fun it's going to be playing in that stadium. So we're excited, but it's at the end of the day, we are just playing another game.
Have you let yourself even drift into thinking about the Heisman? It's when you see your name mentioned, et cetera. Do you spend much time on that at all?
No, not really focused on outside noise. We have a job to do, and we have a goal to go win the Big Ten. So we're going to focus on that as a team.
I think the roof's going to come off that place for one team or the other.
I do too.
It just for them being in their backyard and Ohio State being the blue blood, and we take care of business, and the mission that they're on again.
Yeah, Cinderella was based on a true story.
Will the carriage turn into a pumpkin at midnight?
Exactly. And I paused again. But I think it was Joey Kaufman asked Julian Sayin whether he's ever met Fernando Mendoza. And this is what he had to say.
Mendoza at all, or gotten to know him over the years?
I've never met him, no, but he's a great player, and seeing their tape and seeing them on TV, he's a really smart player, great decision maker with football. So we have a tough challenge.
Yeah, it's a tough challenge, man.
Everybody has said Mendoza he makes the right decisions. So.
Well, the thing about Mendoza too, though, is he threw the ball to Oregon, and Oregon returned it for a touchdown, and that made it 20-20. Then he took control and took them to 10 points in the fourth quarter, and they beat Oregon 30-20. Really beat them. If you take the pick six away, 30-13, but it was 20-20 is the reality of it.
You bet.
And they needed his heroics down the stretch because of a pick six that he threw. Just like at Penn State, they had a couple of faux pas over there, and they needed that heroics to pull that game out. And really, it was a two-sided heroic because they needed a ridiculous catch in the end zone of a Mendoza pass to pull that game out. And then, of course, at Iowa, they had so much trouble moving the ball against Iowa, and Iowa just didn't have quite as much offense and to take it out. But also they got a huge play in that game, which turned it in the fourth quarter, or they were in trouble. So, they've been pushed into the corner 3 times this year, and they found out ways to win the game, but they kind of stumbled backwards into the corner. It wasn't like it was of their own doing that they were in the corner. You follow my drift?
You mean it was an Ali rope-a-dope? Like I'm going to.
No, I don't. Yeah, it was more like Ali getting caught in a jaw, but still hanging on with a broken jaw and beating whoever that was. I used to know all that trivia about Muhammad Ali, but the bottom line is that's like Marcel Reed. I mean, you'll hear Josh Perry and I talk about that a little bit. Marcel Reed with a great comeback they had against South Carolina.
A&M quarterback.
Texas A&M quarterback who some people consider still be a viable candidate in the Heisman Trophy race. But 3/4 of the reason why they were down big time at halftime was because of Marcel Reed. So do you give a guy, my big analogy is, do you give a guy credit for doing something extraordinary, which he did do in the second half, but he dug his own hole. So what he really did was he dug the hole and then he put the dirt back in the hole. So do you give a guy, how much credit do you give a guy for doing that? Julian, his deepest hole has been throwing that interception last week, and Michigan getting its second field goal out of it, and going up 6-0. But then he threw touchdown passes to a guy named Jeremiah Smith, a guy named Carnell Tate, and a guy named Brandon Ennis, his 3 starting wide receivers, and leaned on Bo Jackson and Isaiah West and C.J. Donaldson in the running game, and pretty much drove the truck after having to pull over for a basically not even a flat tire, more like a low tire.
Okay.
Had to get some air in that low tire.
Jacket.
Yeah. You've been there. You've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's get to some more sound from Julian Sayin. And by more sound, I mean, as I ask him, the aura that having Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate on the field together for the first time since Penn State.
Right.
What that brought to the fore at Michigan and what that could mean Saturday night. I mean, he's pretty general in his comments about it, but I just think it's an interesting thing because I keep saying there's a team with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith and all others without.
The other day about having those 2 guys available, Carnell and Jeremiah, and it seemed like those first 2 plays you kind of said, hey, look who we've got we didn't have last week. I mean, it seemed like that. But can you explain the aura they just bring to the field that you feel?
Yeah, I think their presence definitely felt. First play of the game, we were trying to make a statement. Those guys are back, and their presence is definitely felt, and it's nice having those guys on the outside to make plays.
Julian, what are your thoughts?
That's the understatement of
boy howdy
of the year.
Yeah, boy howdy, as the old saying goes. Absolutely. I just marvel at what those guys do mean, man. I mean, everybody, even people in the stands, take notice, and so having that with you. Now, it also helps that you got a running game. And Bo Jackson, I asked him about the rise of Bo Jackson from a confidence standpoint that you've seen, because you'll hear what I ask him, but you see Bo making cuts and making some moves that he wasn't even making earlier, even though what got him going was his spurt. I mean, his ability to go. But let's just see what Julian Sayin had to say about what Bo Jackson, he's seen different. Bo Jackson
being more confident in making a cut that maybe he wouldn't have made 6 or 7 weeks ago, instead of just running the play.
Yeah, I think so. I think you see that a lot. You see him making guys miss. You see him talking trash after the play. You see him just having that confidence out there.
Absolutely, you do.
That run in the big house.
Yeah,
looks like he was dead to rights. I mean, they were on him, and and then he.
But do that again. He did what?
Well, he went.
He went. And then.
He got.
Yeah.
But the way he turned the corner.
Oh yeah.
They still had the angle, and they ran him out at the 5-4-3.
That's great running backs, man. They're sitting there, and he's looking at that. I think it was the Rolder. What was the linebacker's name? Rolders. Anyway. Had been making plays earlier in the game.
He was.
All of a sudden, he's standing there, and
he left.
Bo gave him a little bit of a juke, and then went around the corner for one of those runs. The other thing Bo did. And I know everybody watching the game knows this is moot point, but it's going to be huge on Saturday night, I believe, too. Caught the ball out of the backfield, man. He made some good catches in that game, catching runs. And so, he's sitting right there. He's right there on the cusp of a 1,000-yard rushing season.
Correct.
But he's got well over 1,000 yards in total offense. And I would see with a championship on the line, football coaches do this. They play the guys that have produced. You've saved them. You've saved the tread on their tires for races like the one coming up Saturday night. And Isaiah West also. Isaiah West, as I said, he goes north. That West guy goes north and south. I mean, he gets there, plants his foot, and goes. And that's a nice 1-2 punch coming along at the right time, kind of like last year with Quinshawn and Travion Henderson.
I think it's 1, 2, 3 now that you've got CJ back, and he ran through contact.
Yes.
Ryan pointed that out, and he wasn't doing that so much early.
Well, you're sitting there next to me on that one drive. I think it was the 20-play drive that took out the end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, 12 minutes. They put a different running back in each play.
Yeah.
And kept running the ball. Maybe a couple passes in that run, but the point was
fresh legs.
They feel really good about those three. James Peoples, I don't know if he was banged up or not, but he had looked good the previous couple of weeks. We'll see if he even gets into the mix on Saturday night at Lucas Oil Stadium, 8 p.m. But I'm sure it's probably not going to kick off to like 8:18. That's the way that works. But another guy who's played extremely well over the last many weeks and has really come on is Kenyatta Jackson at defensive end. I mean, he was a mauler last week. Brawler and a mauler. They didn't brawl, but you know what I'm saying. He was in the mix. He was in the fight.
Yeah.
And I just talked to him about from a pregame routine. How do you approach getting ready for a game? Because you got to come down from these games, and then you got to get back up. And like he said, during the week you do all this work. They pretty much have a pretty good pattern of like stepping back up. But what's his game day? If you want to call it morning, they may not wake up till noon on Saturday since they don't play till 8. But what's his kind of like his pregame routine all about? And because I'm always curious how these guys get themselves ready to go.
Routine, or you just go out there and play?
My routine is wake up in the morning, listen to some gospel music, probably some R&B from then, and then when the game come around. Now it's like hype music or whatever. Just go in that mode.
Is an 8 o'clock start hard to wait for, or is it you just?
Nah.
What changes for you on a Saturday like that?
Nothing changes.
No problem.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
That's the Coop line. Nothing keeps you from winning.
It was high noon last week, and it's going to be going on Sunday when they kick off Saturday night. I hate 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind sitting on my couch at home watching them,
Right.
but it's such a long day. It's crazy for these guys, and I give it up to them. I give it up to the coaching staffs of both schools, but of being able to get their team from one week to the next ready to go at a different time.
That's it.
I mean, I don't even think they make airline pilots do that. You know, if you have a morning flight, you don't have a, you know, I mean, you kind of stay on that sort of time frame for a while because it from what's that called, biorhythms and stuff. I mean, that has to factor in and stuff. But you know, let's hear some more from Kenyatta Jackson, just talking about his relationship with Matt Patricia and what that has meant to him. It's pretty interesting what he had to say about, you know, the fact of Matt Patricia giving.
I mean, I think it's pretty important to have a close relationship with your DC. I talk to him every day. He check in with me. That's something I never had my 3 previous years here. And I mean, if I trust him and he trusts me, then that's all we need at the end of the day.
Do you think having that conversation has helped your production over the last month and a half?
I think so, as far as, pass rush wise, but I mean, everything else, I think I've been doing a pretty good job at it.
Yeah, to know he has y'all in mind. I remember watching y'all in preseason camp, those 3 days we got to watch. He was over with you guys a lot, along with Coach Johnson and stuff.
Yeah.
It shows he understands where a defense starts, right? I mean, for one of another term.
Yeah.
And what has it been like with Kenyatta, though, to have a guy playing at that level in the middle of the defense? What has that done for the whole front four in terms of the way he demands attention?
I mean, if you can't block him, you can't run on the inside, so you don't have to go to the outside. And we have guys on the outside too, so pick your poison.
Indeed, pick your poison. I mean, he was talking about, I said Kenyatta, but I meant Kayden. There's too many K's and stuff, too many Kaydens, too many K's on that defensive front, right?
I like
that's why I like Adric Houston. That's a different name.
Yeah, that's true. It just speaks to Patricia's want and just being so deliberate about mentoring these guys. Him saying nobody did that the last 3 years, checking in every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how you build. That's cool.
And, I was just, to finish off with Kenyatta, it's like interesting because I don't know, the mantra of the defensive front four has been we're nobodies.
Yeah.
Well, Kayden McDonald, I'll get to him in a minute, but Kayden McDonald was the defensive lineman of the year now, but it's the end of the year. I mean, these guys are still playing like everybody short shrifted them. They really did. Mm-hmm. And because of all of us watching knew that at least the starting front four was going to be excellent. Whether they got depth was going to be the big question. But let's just, hear Kenyatta talking about the we're nobodies part again about the defensive front.
We're nobodies.
Why do you feel that, or how do you keep that chip on your shoulder back in number one?
I mean, truly don't know it. I mean, we just stay humble. We come in each and every day, we put our heads down and we work. We're nobodies. We haven't done nothing yet. Forget the awards, forget the, individual awards, whatever. We haven't done nothing yet. The job's still not finished.
It's interesting how that's carried you guys, because Caden Curry said that a couple of weeks ago, that y'all won a national championship last year, but y'all want the triad. Is it when it becomes palpable to you that y'all can get it? Does it just change the intensity? How does it change from the standpoint y'all got the gold pants now?
Mm-hmm.
You got a chance at a Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
Does it just rile you up even more? How would you explain it?
I mean, yeah. But we just take it, day by day. Goal by goal. We have multiple goals that we want to achieve as a team, and our first goal was to get gold pants, and we achieved that one. And now it's trying to win the Big Ten championship. That's all we focus on right now.
Absolutely. I tell you what, let's get to my conversation with Joshua Perry now, and you'll hear me lament the fact I haven't had him on all year. And I said, well, with Clay Hall, hogging all of the airtime, it's hard for me to get other big time guys on.
Well, he's busy too.
Yeah, he is very much busy. You know, among other things, he's competing for Father of the Year award again. You know, as I remind him. But you know, he's one of my. Everybody knows he's one of my favorite guys ever at Ohio State. Matt Wilhelm, right up there in that same book. I mean, right on down with Johnny Dixon. Just guys I really liked for different reasons and stuff. But Josh was so well spoken. Got his own thing he's doing. You know, obviously in the media. But let's get to what, you know, he and I had to talk about just a few minutes with Joshua Perry on the magnitude of this game, which I think is being overlooked. And you'll hear him talk about that because he agrees from the standpoint of, you know, now the two big conferences have networks rooting for them.
That's true.
And so, you know, let's just get to my conversation with him. It was pretty interesting.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe it's been an entire football season and I have not had Joshua Perry on the Tim May Show. By the way, featuring Clay Hall now, Joshua, you know Clay Hall, but I wanted to get your take on this Big Ten championship game, man. 1 versus 2. I don't think it's getting the run it should be getting nationally. I may be totally wrong about that. I've got my head in the sand, but this is 1 versus 2 in the College Football Playoff Committee rankings. 2 undefeated teams, one a Cinderella who has come back to the ball, meaning Indiana, with even more, with their shoes more firmly tied on. I'm saying that Cinderella mode, but what do you think, Joshua?
Well, I'll just start with this: is the idea of this game not being as big nationally as it feels to us around here. I think part of that is the way that the way that media rights have been done generally, where ESPN, it feels like they've got all the big SEC, whatever. It is in their best interest to send game day to the SEC game. Yeah. And so, of course, the number 1 versus number 2 matchup is going to get a little bit passed over because they're not going to be there. Right. And so for us, I think it's a big deal. But nationally, maybe it's not getting all the buzz because it's not on every studio show and it's not on Sports Center getting run 24/7. So I would start there. Yeah. The idea is for both of the teams that are in this, it is a huge deal. And I know that there aren't the big implications, and both these teams are squarely in the bracket. And they're both probably getting a first-round bye. Indiana, right? Never been to Indianapolis. They're right down the street. They haven't been. Their fans, they're so excited to go to this game. They're excited as a program to be in there. They have made history. They did it last year. They're doing it again this year. And for Ohio State, it felt like it was our second home, and we haven't been back since the COVID year. So I know a lot of people are hyped for it. I think it's going to be a great game. Listen, these are 2 of the most complete teams that you'll see in college football. They both have great defenses. They both have offenses that can hurt you with the run. Ohio State's run game has come alive as of late. And you've got 2 of the best quarterbacks and some of the best wide receivers that you'll see. So a lot of intrigue for me. Should be an interesting matchup. I think it can be closely contested, but certainly a lot that we can learn off of this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you just hit the nail on the head, too. I mean, this could decide the Heisman Trophy. I mean, and on top of that, it could decide the Heisman Trophy. What's your take on that, just the Heisman Trophy race at this point? I mean, I know, you know, whatever region of the country you're in, you're looking at one guy or another. Like some people are saying Diego Pavia has made a late run, but he's not playing this weekend. I don't see him winning the Heisman. I've been voting on this thing for 42 years. What is just your take on the Heisman race and how this game will impact it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the quarterback who wins this game probably has to play really well. And if they do that, they're going to win the Heisman Trophy here. Jeremiah Love is a name that's started to pick up some steam as well. And if you put his highlights out there versus anybody else's, it's probably got the longer highlight reel of just what he's done with the ball in his hands. But as we know that it's kind of become more of a quarterback award. Last year showed us people were more interested in voting for positions outside of quarterback, but that's where folks default. And the reality is, like, Notre Dame hasn't been in a huge game against a great defense since the first couple of weeks of the year. So that's probably hurting his candidacy. I'm out on Diego Pavia as a candidate. In all the biggest games that he played in this year, he had his worst games. He had the fake rally against Texas. I'm not buying into that. And somebody who's done the Heisman pose as many times as he's done throughout the season. I just feel like you're too thirsty to win it, so I don't want you to win it at this point.
Yeah.
When it comes down to Mendoza and Sayin, the separator up to this point has been the idea of Heisman moments, where Fernando Mendoza has, late rally against Iowa, the big play against all-out pressure where he's able to hit the slant, goes for a touchdown. He throws a pick six against Oregon, then goes back out and has a great drive. He's got to bring his team back against Penn State. And so people are like, he's got the moments. And I totally get that. Julian hasn't had the opportunity for the moments, except for maybe the Michigan game where he had the mistake early, they got down, and he played a great game after that. But that's not his fault. The one thing he does have is the best regular season in the history of college football completing the football, right? Completing passes. That to me is a Heisman-worthy stat. So I feel like the voters have gotten a little bit too far gone with this idea of having moments where I can assess the body of work of the guy who just went out there and completed a higher percentage of passes than anybody that's ever touched a football over the course of a regular season in this sport. And I can say that is something that deserves to win a Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not knocking Fernando Mendoza because I said in preseason, basically I said last June, even before that, I thought this was going to be a better Indiana team than it was a year ago based on the guys they had back, the fact that coaching staff was intact, the guys they picked up in the portal, including Fernando Mendoza, which was, in my opinion, a major upgrade at quarterback. And they still had on paper, a gauntlet to run from a schedule standpoint. And Fernando Mendoza, as I like to say his name, you know what I mean? I took all those years of Spanish in high school and college. But I like what he brought to the table. But some of these, like you said, Heisman moments was him digging out of a hole he had dug. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
right.
I don't know, should you get full credit for digging out of a hole you've dug, you know?
So I've talked about this. Like, for me, I can't give you the full credit for the Heisman moment when you went out there, you had a pick six early in the game, you went out there, you threw the football to the other team. Maybe it wasn't your greatest day passing the football in terms of totals. To me, that's something I can actually evaluate and say that's a check when I'm looking at an NFL prospect.
Yeah.
Is, do you ride the waves of the game? Can you bounce back? Are you, by the end of the game, are you doing the things that you need to do to win, right? Like, that's for the NFL, that's something I look at as, I'm going to give you credit. For the Heisman race, like, you don't get to make the mess and then clean it up. It was crazy. And I know we're doing the Fernando Mendoza right now. They did the same thing with Marcel Reed.
Yeah.
When he had that awful first half against South Carolina, and then he comes back and has a great second half. It was phenomenal. And people were like, oh, maybe that's his Heisman moment. No, maybe this is a reason why he shouldn't win the Heisman. And I feel like we have to get more comfortable looking at it both ways.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Joshua. Hey, what is besides the accuracy from Sayin, what stands out about? I mean, I've been so amazed. I'm impressed by his cool, his calm. You know, even when you talk to him, he doesn't get fired. You know, he doesn't get rattled, etc. His high school coach told me he expected him to handle the moment, you know, in the Texas game, and he definitely did. They didn't put a lot on his plate, but what they put on there, he ate, you know. But what besides his accuracy, what has stood out to you about him most of all?
I'll give you two things, and the first thing goes to the cool and the calm that you were talking about. The way that Julian Sayin manages the pocket, while managing his reads, to me is advanced. He shouldn't be as good as he is at it, as young as he is. He understands how to move subtly in the pocket to avoid pressure. He's made that offensive line better throughout the year doing that. He knows when it's best to step up versus when it's best to try to evade through the outside of the pocket. And he's doing it not while looking at the rush, but while looking at what the coverage is doing and going through his progression to see where the ball goes. And sometimes that means that he's looking for a check down, and that's where the ball eventually goes. Check downs are positive plays, especially the way that teams have been playing Ohio State this year. There's been a lot of deep coverage, a lot of people trying to keep the cap on the defense. I know some people were frustrated maybe a little early on, middle of the year. Why aren't we hitting some of the explosives? They're not letting you. These coaches aren't dumb. They're not letting Carnell and Jeremiah just do their thing. And as the run games come, the teams have had to bring the safeties back, and that's where some of the shots have come. Neither here nor there. He's done a great job of getting the ball to where it needs to go. That's number one. Number two, the different throws that he has. And people ask the question early on, oh, he's a smaller frame guy. He's not super big in terms of brawn. Is his arm strong enough? And he's shown that he can drive the football on the seams, right? He's shown that he can get the ball out to the sideline from the hash. He's shown that he can get the ball down the field. And his deep passes have a couple of different tempos and a couple of different looks to him, where he's got that fastball that he can throw. And then he's got that kind of Russell Wilson moon ball where the ball's just floating up in the air. And all of a sudden you see a Jeremiah or a Carnell and they just run right under it and it lands so gently in their hands. It's just beautiful the way that he can deliver different types of footballs. And that to me is a separator. You see a lot of great quarterbacks and maybe their thing is they're a great touch passer. Maybe their thing is they've got a good fastball. He's got all of them available.
Yeah. It's really funny because I think you could almost count on one hand and maybe a couple extra fingers the deep balls he's missed. I mean, that, my friend, is big time. I mean, his accuracy, his dad sent me video of him when he was playing for this, when he was 11 years old. And by the way, I've told people I was just marveled by his receivers too, because they were catching the ball, you know what I mean? At 11 years old, but he looks like the same little fella. I mean, what he looked like as a little fella, he looks like as a grown man. I mean, just sitting there calm and cool and throwing strikes. Real quick before you go, because you already got your leather jacket or your sideline jacket on, ready to rock and roll in the Ohio State vein. But Ohio State's running game, Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, I think underrated, kind of overlooked by a lot of people, but mainly because the other guy's name is Bo Jackson, but just the way that running game has come on, the way Ryan Day and Brian Hartline have stuck with the knitting there to get that coming, Tyler Bowen. I don't know. Is that a sneaky little advantage that maybe Ohio State didn't have 5, 8, 10 games ago that they can count on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think it's going to be big. And listen, Indiana's front is aggressive. They like to move a ton. And they've lived behind the line of scrimmage, right? So it's going to be a big game for the offensive line. As I mentioned, those running backs are going to have to take maybe a few opportunities in this game to make those guys right. But the idea for me is teams are always going to be like, we got to cut off the head of the snake. It's quarterback, the wide receivers, right? But when Ohio State is running it and when Bo Jackson is performing the way that he is, and you mentioned Isaiah West, I'd even put Peoples in there. I thought that he's had some moments here late in the season, right?
Yeah.
That becomes a much more difficult offense to have to try to figure out and to try to stop. And it came to life against Michigan to where they had these drives where it felt very balanced. They could run it, they could throw it, they could run it, they could throw it, they could ping pong back and forth. Then the game got to a point where it's like, okay, now we can start to get into 4-minute offense and we can start to salt this game away and stand over the football and hand it off and know that we can get 6 yards. And I think that's a big deal for this Ohio State team, the ability to run it now when they want to and not just when they need to. So I would say that's going to be a big swing in the game. I'll flip it over to Indiana real quick. I don't know if people know this about them. Everybody talks about the pass game. They run the football more than anybody in the Big Ten. This is a team that wants to run the football. And part of the reason why is because so much of their pass game is predicated off of run-affected throws. It's RPO, it's play action. And you look at the games where Indiana's offense has struggled the most. When they played Iowa, they struggled a ton. When they played Penn State, they struggled. In the first half of the game against Wisconsin, before they figured out Wisconsin secondary was terrible, they struggled, and it was because they could not run the football. And when they can't do it, they can't get into RPOs, they can't get into play action. And by the way, Fernando Mendoza, who's a solid athlete, but not a super twitchy athlete in the pocket, a guy who maybe looks at the rush sometimes because he's got scars from when he was playing at Cal and got hit a ton, he becomes a different quarterback when they can't run the football. So I actually think the run game is a big hinge point in this matchup.
Gotcha. Hey, last thing, I told you I wouldn't keep you very long. By the way, I know you're also among other things, you're competing for Father of the Year a couple of years running now. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Where can people see you this weekend, or as this thing goes along?
So we're doing a Selection Sunday reaction show, myself and Nicole Auerbach, from Stamford, Connecticut, around 2:00 Eastern. It will be on YouTube Live. We will chop it up and put it onto a podcast as well. It's going to be in all of our feeds. So follow along at Mr. Joshua Perry on Twitter, at RIP_JEP on Instagram. The information will be there. But if you want to follow along for some of our instant reactions to the college football playoff bracket and some predictions for what we expect in the postseason, you can see it all there.
All right. 2 quick predictions from you. Number one, who holds sway in this game? And as you alluded to earlier and hinted, do both teams end up, well, barring a blowout, do both teams end up with a bye in the college football playoff seedings that are coming on Sunday that you will be reacting to?
Yeah, so I think Ohio State's going to win this game. Indiana has every reason to feel like this is their game. And I think Ohio State realizes that, and that's probably the biggest reason why I give them the edge. Is there a better football team? And the intangibles go the other way, but Ohio State's not dumb, and they've been in this spot before, and they know what's at stake here. So I like that. I think both of them do end up with a bye. They have been the from start to finish the 2 best and most consistent teams in the country, and unless one of them gets absolutely run off the field. Let me say this. I know I'm going on and on, but this is what we do when we get together.
Yeah.
There are people trying to convince me that Alabama, which is crazy, they're the number 1 seed in the SEC. They are the number 9 ranked team in the college football playoff rankings, and they hold currently the 2nd at-large spot. And people are trying to tell me that regardless of the outcome of that game, they have to be in. The second to last at-large has to be in because they're playing for an SEC title. And there are a lot of people that believe that if they win that game, they should jump up 5 spots and they should get a first-round bye. So if that's the case, then the 2 teams that have gone undefeated in the regular season and have looked as consistent as anybody, regardless of the outcome of their game, they shouldn't drop out of the top 4. That's my take on it.
Hey, real quick, I'll leave you my take. I got to see Alabama play at South Carolina live with my baby brother, Tony, who's going to be 68. I like to add that in.
Baby brother.
My baby brother. Alabama, to me, looked like a good team, not an elite team. Ty Simpson is a good quarterback. I don't think he's an elite quarterback, but it is what it is. I'll probably have to eat crow on this. I don't see that elite team in the Southeastern Conference this year. Defense, I don't know what's happened to defense in the Southeastern Conference. I just don't see.
Georgia's starting to get there. I think
exactly Georgia, starting to get there, but yes. I'm telling you, I just remember 42-41, and I know that was 3 or 4 years ago. A lot of these defenses get pumped up because, I think the SEC is a very, without a doubt, great conference itself, but I don't, just the fact you beat another SEC team doesn't mean you're outstanding. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let me throw this at you. There was a world in my brain where the first team, second team, third team All-American quarterbacks could all be Big Ten quarterbacks.
Yes.
Julian Sayin, Fernando Mendoza, and then Jaden Mayava with the way that he's played this year.
Yep.
You keep going down that list of quarterbacks in the Big Ten. Dante Moore didn't even pop up in that conversation. Luke Altmaier was the guy that came in, a lot of hype, a lot of pomp and circumstance. You could literally go down the list. The SEC doesn't have that right now. So when people talk about, their defense is this and whatever's going on, brother, every week it seems like you're playing a quarterback in the Big Ten that's at least decent. Like, not all of these guys are great, but even the young quarterbacks are pretty damn good. Like, we have to at some point have a conversation about that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm with you 184%. That's about as much as I can be in there. Hey, Joshua, always a pleasure. You know that, man.
Hey, love joining you. Appreciate you having me.
And this time I'm going to call you back sooner rather than later instead of, I don't know what the hell happened in terms of during the regular season. Remember, I had you on the line, had you fired up at one point, and then something else happened and I didn't follow through. But you know how much I like you, my man.
You're my guy. I appreciate you.
See you, brother.
Later.
Yeah, what's not to like about
no doubt.
Joshua Perry?
2 things I wanted to point out. You're talking about Indiana. Nobody likes to run the ball more. Roman Hemby's a guy, this stat he's one of two players in this country who has 3,000 yards rushing over his career and 1,000 yards receiving. And the other thing about the moments, you got to have a Heisman moment.
Yeah.
Ohio State this year has been so dominant that they lack drama because they win by 18 to 21, 3 scores. They just have, other than the pick in the big house and him, coming back down, taking care of business, 3 touchdowns, the 1 pick, but 230 yards passing, 19 of whatever it is of 26, I think. Sometimes
trailing at Michigan 6-3. I think it was early in the second quarter, whatever it was last week.
Your favorite play.
And my favorite play, 4th and 5 from the 35-yard line of Michigan. And Ryan Day says, go for it. And Brian Hartline calls a pass from Julian Sayin to Jeremiah Smith, as they called it, a sluggo, it was a slant and then go. Jeremiah Smith puts a hell of a move on his guy, and Julian Sayin throws an absolute strike that Jeremiah Smith catches, turns up, and scores the touchdown. Ohio State never trailed again in that game. That was big. Julian Sayin stepping back and hitting Carnell Tate pretty much dead in stride on that post cut. That was big. The bullet, the laser he threw to Brandon Ennis just before halftime on that little rub route they ran with, I think it was Max Clare ahead of Brandon Ennis, and then Brandon Ennis makes that little move over the middle. It wasn't, Max Clare didn't do anything bad there, but it was set it up and it cut off the guy chasing Brandon Ennis, and Julian Sayin was pinpoint right in the gut of Brandon Ennis touchdown. To me, those are big moments. Those are touchdown passes in your rivalry game that make a huge difference. So I just take those 3 and play them on a loop. I think Ohio State fans would keep cheering.
Yeah.
Speaking of cheering, man, everybody knows me. I like the big guys. The big guys, the big fellas, as I call them, are what make college football, or what make football football. Otherwise, it's 7-on-7.
That's it.
Boring. Bottom line is, as we said earlier, Kayden McDonald was named the Defensive Lineman of the Year. As Ohio State swept all the major awards for all the major Big Ten defensive awards in the postseason this week. And I just want to get this little video I put together of Kayden McDonald coming out, by the way, to talk to us on Wednesday. And, he's one of the more pleasant guys you can ever want to talk to. But let's go ahead and watch this. I'm going to pause for a second and back it up. I want you to pay close attention to his feet as he walks up. I think he got those from you, didn't he, Clay?
Where did you get those shoes?
From a website called GOAT. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, congratulations being named Defensive Lineman of the Year in the Big Ten. What does that mean to you?
First and foremost, man, I always say this. I want to thank God first, because without him, this wouldn't be possible. And I want to thank Coach Johnson for believing in me when everybody else didn't. This started when I was a freshman, coming in at the back of the bench, but working my way up and learning from the older guys like Ty Leak and Ty Hamilton, Jack Sawyer, JT, Mike Hall, and everybody else. And I'm just so thankful for Coach Patricia, Coach Day, strength staff, Coach Mick, Kayla for getting my nutritionist right, and everybody plays a part into that. And so I always say this is an award for everybody.
Kayden, there was a moment after the game that you got caught on camera. You were pretty emotional with Mount Patricia. What did winning that game mean to you?
We've been struggling for a couple of years now, and I knew on Saturday that I would get a chance to get some gold pants. And Coach Patricia, I always have a moment with him every week before a game, and he hugs me, and I'll do anything for him. He'll do anything for me, and I'm forever appreciate him, forever.
Was the moment not maybe hit you when you were realizing that y'all would actually snap that losing streak?
Yeah, it did hit me. It hit me during the week. Just the preparation throughout the week. Cause I know when the game was gonna come, I was gonna dominate. Just throughout the week, really hit me.
If somebody had said to you at the beginning of the year you would be the Big Ten Defensive Lineman of the Year, would you have been surprised? Would you have been surprised?
I wouldn't say surprised. I'll be. I don't even know. I'm just so thankful, just for the opportunity to play for the Ohio State University. Being a #1 team in the country, going to Indy Saturday, and having a chance to go repeat. That's my biggest concern right now. It's not the defensive lineman of the year. I just want to make sure we get the win.
Kid, you said Coach Johnson believed in you when nobody else did. Did you believe in yourself back then?
Yeah, for sure. But having a coach like him, he's kind of an old school type of coach. So, you got to do things his way, or you're not gonna play. And I bought into his persona and what he want to do, and the rest is history.
Where do you see Indiana offensive-wise that concerns you guys? How would you describe what you're looking at there on video? What's the biggest challenge on Saturday?
First, you got to start with the quarterback. Great quarterback. He's top 5 pick. They got a good running back. And the coach, Kurt. He's a great coach. They've been winning. They've been blowing teams out. So we got to come up and show up and be ready to play.
What difference does it make for them to have an experienced quarterback like Mendoza? Versus like a young guy that you guys have maybe seen a lot more this year?
I don't think it really matters who at quarterback. It's a matter of what we do and how we execute. We don't know what plays they're running, but we can execute how we're going to play. And it's all 11 hats to the ball.
What does it take from a guts, confidence standpoint to wear those shoes?
Man, this is me. I'm still a kid, and I'm forever be watching Monsters Inc. So, yeah.
Just like this what you're doing right now. You're playing for the #1 team in the country. You just won an individual award. Like, what does all this mean to you right now?
I'm just so thankful. Every day I don't even know how to think, and I'm just get ready to go play on Saturday, Indy, with my guys and go win the Big Ten championship.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
There you go. That's why I like myself, Kayden McDonald, man. I mean, he's a pleasant young man to talk to, and man, is he good. I don't know if you agree. I think he's the best nose, that one technique tackle in the country this year.
He's plugging it up.
Definitely in the Big Ten. Big Ten has already ordained it, both of them, from the standpoint of the #1 defensive lineman award. So good for him. But this game on Saturday night is going to have all kinds of players that are pretty damn good, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah. We're going to see a little version of the NFL draft. I would say to you, much credit. You're much senior to these kids, and yet you have rapport, and that's huge. I'm impressed by your ability. You could be 91 and you'd still be in there anyway. All right, another great matchup.
Wait a minute. Thanks, man. Go ahead.
And this occurred, as you reminded me, this occurred last year as well.
I think
that J.J. Smith going up against his high school teammate in Indiana University DB and All-American, by the way, D'Angelo Pounds, and Signetti, who likens J.J. Smith to Julio Jones, knows his secondary will be tested, no question, by Jeremiah and certainly Carnell Tate, and don't forget about Brandon Ennis. By the way, one other little tidbit.
Okay.
OSU is allowed 6 sacks. That's half a sack per game.
Yeah.
That's pretty doggone good. And IU likes to disrupt, man. They like to mess with you. And one of their cats, Stephen Daly, in the ditch, tackle, 18 tackles for loss. So be aware of that dude as well.
Absolutely. And, you heard Joshua Perry talk about Julian Sayin's ability to move in the pocket. who knew that was going to be part of his game and just a feel for things. That doesn't mean somebody's not going to blitz you and knock your block off on occasion. I mean, Indiana's going to pull out all the stops. You got to figure they do a lot of shenanigans up front defensively to
create havoc.
No, but mainly put your offensive lineman in a conundrum about I'm blocking this guy. Wait, who's got that guy?
Yeah.
I mean, type thing as the play goes on. So they're pretty big occasionally on the delayed blitz, things like that. So the offensive line's got to have a hell of a game. And one of the ways you start to have a hell of a game is somehow or another in that first quarter get some kind of running game established and make them respect the run before you can play shenanigans. But they'll loop and stunt even against, on sure rundowns and have a guy standing there that a second and a half ago you didn't think had any reason to be there. So that'll be the game within the game is watching all that stuff go down. But this is a big, huge game. I just did several radio interviews before and during this show as I paused it, and we got our act together in terms of our own video here, which we had a few snafus with on this podcast. But let's keep saying the same thing. I expected Indiana to be better than it was last year, but the schedule on paper going into the year looked formidable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with games at Penn State, with a game at Oregon, and then a game against Iowa, and then, of course, opening Big Ten play with Illinois, which was so highly touted going into the year. And they destroyed Illinois. I don't think Illinois ever got it. Says, as I said on the radio show, I don't think Illinois ever got his mojo back. Kind of like one of those Austin Powers movies. And then, in Penn State, they broke Penn State's heart because Penn State finally thought it was off the schneid with the losing streak. Yeah. And then they found a way to win. Fernando Mendoza with that pass to the end zone, the right receiver made a ridiculous catch. So they've got players in every spot on the field who can make plays if you give them a chance. I'm talking about Indiana. So this should be a hell of a game. Hey, let's do a departure. Go ahead.
Their main targets, Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper, total 106 catches between them and 22 touchdowns. So
just like Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, Surratt's been banged up a little bit of late.
Yeah.
But no, they've got guys. They've got capable, big-time players. And I think this is a worthy number one versus number two because they've run the gauntlet. Whatever the gauntlet presented them, they got to the Big Ten championship game undefeated, just like Ohio State. And so real quick, we're going to do a departure before we get out of here. Your pick on this game is, from a score standpoint, is who wins and what's the score?
I'm going to say The Ohio State University 31-23.
Okay, I'm not gonna play it out like you just did to get sympathy from the crowd. I'm looking at Ohio State something in the neighborhood of 34-17. That's a number that's been in my head all week because I think it's always going to come back. The difference in this game is going to be the Ohio State defense.
Yeah,
Ohio State's got guys that can make play on offense, just like Indiana does, but Indiana's got to deal with a defensive front from Ohio State. I think it's the best by far they faced this year. I think that will be the difference in this game. So with that said,
I'm writing these down.
With that said, we may have a bulletin special report from Lucas Oil Arena late Saturday night here on FanStream Sports. Watch for it. Looking forward to going to the game, seeing it after I do the tailgate show on 97.1 The Fan. And then, of course, we will definitely be back. Heck, we might come back. We'll figure that out. We might come back in Sunday afternoon if the pairings are set, no matter win or lose for Ohio State. You think there's a great chance they're going to get a bye in the first round. If they win on Saturday night, they will be in the Rose Bowl for the second straight year in the quarterfinals of the college football playoff.
New Year's Eve?
No, Rose Bowl is always New Year's Day. That's one of the reasons why it'll always be a quarterfinal, at least under the present setup.
Yep.
We don't need to give out times now. It's a long way away. And by the way, I think it's around 5 4:30 or 5 Eastern time is when the kickoff is. But I digress. But until Sunday or Saturday night late, early Sunday morning, or maybe Sunday afternoon with another podcast, I'm Tim May. That's Clay Hall. We'll see you then.